Cruise lines give you plenty of official rules, but the ones that actually make or break your trip, they're never written down. These are the habits seasoned cruisers follow without even thinking, and if you don't know them, you're probably wasting money, missing the best experiences, and in some cases, you could even miss your ship entirely on a port day. In this video, you'll learn 13 of these unwritten rules, the small changes that turn an average cruise into one of the best trips of your life. Some will save you hours of frustration. Others will give you access to things most passengers never discover. And the last one? It's the reason veteran cruisers always seem to have smoother, better vacations than everyone else. Rule 1. Make embarkation day count. Your first day on the ship is one of the most valuable, but most passengers treat it like it's disposable. They board, grab a plate at the buffet, sip a drink, and then just wait around for their cabin to open. That first afternoon is a golden opportunity. The ship is only just coming alive. Half the passengers are still exploring. Some venues are almost empty. And certain experiences are up for grabs that won't be available later. If you want the best dinner times, spa appointments, or shore excursions, this is when you lock them in. Even if you've booked online, there are often last-minute slots or hidden deals that open once you're on board. I've even seen people snag the perfect table in a specialty restaurant because they went straight there instead of joining the buffet crowd. Once your bookings are sorted, use the rest of the afternoon to explore the ship with purpose. Find the quiet spots, the shaded loungers, the tucked-away corners you'll want later. This one habit can change the entire tone of your cruise. Rule 2. All-inclusive doesn't mean all-accessible. Cruises love to market themselves as all-inclusive. Food, entertainment, activities, it's all there for you. But there's a big difference between something being included and it being available. That infinity pool with the perfect view? On a sunny sea day, every lounger will be taken before you've even finished breakfast. The front row seats at the big evening shows? Gone if you arrive when the curtain's about to rise. Even certain dining times can be impossible to get if you wait too long. The best way to think about it is this. Yes, everything is available to everyone in theory, but in practice, the most desirable spots are limited. The earlier you figure out where you want to be, the more likely you'll actually get to enjoy it. This is why Rule 1 matters so much. You can't take advantage of the ship's best features unless you've scoped them out early. Rule 3. Be early for anything worth doing. On a cruise, showing up at the scheduled time is already too late. If a show starts at 8, be in your seat at least 15 minutes before. If the ship's tender starts boarding at 9, you should be ready to go by 8:45. Arriving early gives you options. Better seats, shorter lines, and the ability to move at your own pace instead of rushing with everyone else. Being early also takes the stress out of the experience. You're not sprinting down hallways, you're not stuck at the back of the line, and you're not missing the start of events. And when you make a habit of it, something interesting happens. You start to notice the ship's rhythm. You see where people gather at certain times and where things empty out. That's the bridge to the next rule. Rule 4. Learn the ship's flow. Every ship has its own traffic patterns, and if you can read them, you'll save yourself hours of wasted time over the course of the trip. When a show ends, the elevators nearest the theater are packed, while the ones a short walk away are empty. On port mornings, certain staircases are jammed with passengers heading to breakfast, while other routes stay quiet. The buffet has a huge spike right at noon, then a lull, then another spike before afternoon activities. If you know these patterns, you can move around without getting stuck. Take a slightly longer route that avoids the bottlenecks. Use side corridors instead of main hallways during peak times. Even choosing to eat at off hours can give you an entirely different, calmer cruise experience. Once you start noticing this flow, you'll realize there's a group of people who know it better than anyone else, and they're the ones working on the ship, which is exactly why the next rule is about making sure you talk to them. Rule 5. Talk to the crew. If you want to know what's really going on aboard a cruise ship, the daily schedule isn't enough. The crew knows the ship inside and out. They know what's happening behind the scenes, which events are worth showing up for, and when the crowds will be lighter. Strike up conversations with them, not just to get information, but to build rapport. Bartenders will tell you which nights the lounge is livelier. Entertainment staff can hint at shows or activities that don't make the official program. Room stewards sometimes know about small onboard gatherings, officer meet and greets, or even the exact moment the captain is likely to be in a public area. It's not about being pushy or fishing for secrets. It's about showing genuine interest in the people who run the ship. They'll naturally share tips once they know you're the kind of passenger who appreciates them, and that knowledge will help you make the most of the next rule. Rule 6. Don't overschedule yourself. One of the easiest mistakes to make on a cruise is trying to do everything. You've got trivia at 11, a cooking demo at noon, a deck party at 2, bingo at 4, the early seating for dinner, and then 3 different evening shows. On paper, it looks fun. In reality, it's exhausting. By the second or third day, you start to feel like you're working through a checklist instead of relaxing on vacation. Worse, you're rushing from one thing to the next and never fully enjoying any of it. This is where what you've learned from talking to the crew becomes valuable. Instead of packing your day with everything in the brochure, focus on the experiences that will actually matter to you. Maybe that means skipping the afternoon trivia because the cruise director told you there's an incredible guest performance later that evening. Or maybe it means spending a quiet morning on deck because you know the spa is running a special right after lunch. By giving yourself breathing room, you're not only enjoying more of what you do, you also leave space for those spontaneous moments that make cruises memorable. Which brings us to the next point. All that careful planning doesn't mean anything if you get caught breaking the single most important time-related rule at sea. Rule 7. Ship time is the only time. This one's not just an unwritten rule, it's survival. On port days, your phone might automatically switch to local time. Your watch might not match the ship's clock, and that's dangerous because when the ship says it's leaving at 5 o'clock, it's leaving at 5 o'clock ship time. There's no grace period. No, they'll wait for us. If you're still on shore when the gangway closes, you'll be waving goodbye from the dock. And it happens more often than you think. Every experienced cruiser has seen the pier runners sprinting down the dock while the ship is pulling away. The fix is simple. Pick one device, ideally a watch, and sync it to ship time as soon as you board. Ignore your phone's auto-updates when you're in port. If you're on a cruise line-sponsored excursion, you're usually safe because the ship will wait if that tour runs late. But if you're exploring on your own, you need to keep one eye on that watch at all times. Following ship time keeps you stress-free. You're not glancing at your phone wondering if it's right. You're not cutting it close at the pier. You can actually enjoy your time in port because you know exactly how much time you have left. And when you're not stressed about time, you can start thinking more creatively about how you spend those precious hours ashore, which is where the next rule comes in. Rule 8. Go off the beaten path in port. When the ship docks, there's a familiar pattern. Passengers pour off the gangways and head straight to the same handful of shops, bars, and crowded beaches. It's not that those places are bad. They're just what everyone else is doing. But here's the truth. Some of the best memories you'll make on a cruise happen when you avoid the herd. Instead of booking the most obvious shore excursions, look for smaller, more unique options. Maybe it's a guided hike to a hidden waterfall, a cooking class with a local family, or a private taxi tour that lets you see the parts of town most tourists skip. One of the simplest ways to find these gems is to ask the crew where they go when they're off duty in that port. They're in these places week after week, and they know which beaches are less crowded, which restaurants are authentic, and which neighborhoods are worth wandering. The payoff is huge. You get a more relaxed experience, you avoid the worst of the tourist crowds, and you often spend less money than you would on the official attractions. And when you come back to the ship at the end of the day, you're not just another passenger who bought the same t-shirt and drank the same margarita as everyone else. You've got a story, something personal and something memorable. And while exploring in port is one of the highlights of cruising, the truth is some of your best opportunities are still waiting back on the ship, which is why the next rule is all about making the most of those days when you never even step on shore. Rule 9. Make sea days count. Some passengers treat sea days like dead time, just filler between the real part of the trip in port. That's a huge mistake. Sea days are where you can take full advantage of everything the ship has to offer without the pressure of rushing back from shore. In fact, some experiences are better on sea days. The spa often runs discounts when the ship is at sea all day. Specialty restaurants that were booked solid on port days suddenly have open tables. Popular attractions like water slides, rope courses, or even mini golf are less busy during certain hours because passengers spread themselves out between activities. A smart approach is to plan sea days with intention. Maybe you dedicate one to pure relaxation, late breakfast, a few hours in the sun, an afternoon in the spa, and maybe you make another an active day, tackling the ship's more unique experiences. attending lectures. The goal is to avoid treating sea days like downtime you have to fill, and instead see them as opportunities to do the things that actually make the ship special. This is also where your awareness of the ship's flow, from rule number 4, pays off. You'll know exactly when the buffet is less crowded, when the gym is quiet, and when the pool deck feels like your own private retreat. Which brings us neatly into the next rule, because pacing yourself on a cruise is not just about managing time, but energy. Rule 10. Cruise like a marathon, not a sprint. A cruise can be physically and mentally draining if you go all out from the moment you board until the last night. You're living in close quarters with thousands of people, walking more than you realize, and constantly being tempted to overeat, overdrink, and overcommit to activities. If you treat the cruise like a sprint, you'll run out of steam halfway through. The better strategy is to pace yourself like you would for a marathon. That means knowing when to take a break, when to skip that event you're not truly excited about, and when to just enjoy the view with no agenda. It also means practicing a bit of etiquette that makes the cruise better for everyone around you. Don't reserve loungers for hours by leaving a towel on them when you're not actually there. Keep your voice down in hallways late at night. The walls are thinner than you think. And if you're traveling with kids, make sure they understand the difference between playing and disturbing other guests. By pacing yourself and being considerate, you not only protect your own energy, but also make the trip more pleasant for the people around you. Which leads right into the next rule, because the way you treat others on board often determines how much help and goodwill you get in return. Rule 11. Be the passenger everyone remembers positively. One of the simplest but most overlooked cruise hacks is this: be genuinely pleasant to the crew and your fellow passengers. You don't have to be over the top about it, but a little kindness goes a long way. Learn your room steward's name and greet them when you see them. Say thank you to dining staff, even at the buffet. If a fellow passenger is clearly trying to get a photo, offer to take it for them. It sounds basic, but here's the thing. People remember who treats them well. And on a ship where the same people are serving you, cleaning your room, and helping you every day, that goodwill adds up. Crew members often go above and beyond for passengers they like. That might mean getting you into a booked-out activity, letting you know about an upcoming event before it's announced, or just making your cruise feel warmer and more personal. Good relationships also mean smoother interactions if something goes wrong. If you've been nothing but polite to the front desk staff, they're far more likely to go the extra mile for you if you have a problem to solve. This respect and attentiveness leads perfectly into the next rule, because once you're paying attention to people, you'll start to notice other things that most passengers completely overlook. Rule 12. Read the silent signals. There's a whole layer of communication on a cruise ship that isn't in the announcements or the daily program. Pay attention to door decorations. If you see balloons or special signage, someone's celebrating a milestone. Congratulating them might lead to a fun conversation, or even an invitation to join a group event. Watch how the crew adjusts furniture or signage. It can be a subtle hint about an upcoming activity or a weather change. For example, if you see the staff quietly setting up chairs in a lounge mid-afternoon, it might mean there's an unlisted gathering or rehearsal happening soon. Even passenger movement can be a clue. If you suddenly see a group of people heading in the same direction outside of scheduled times, it might mean something interesting is about to start. By picking up on these cues, you start moving through the cruise in a way that feels effortless. You're in the right place at the right time without needing to cling to the printed schedule. And once you're tuned in like that, it opens the door to something bigger, a way of approaching the entire trip that most passengers never even think about. Rule 13. Leave the ship better than you found it. This isn't just about environmental responsibility, though that's a part of it. It's about the overall culture you contribute to on board. Return towels when you're done with them. Dispose of trash properly instead of leaving it for someone else to pick up. Be patient during disembarkation, even when you're eager to get home. The more passengers treat the ship and its crew with respect, the better the atmosphere for everyone. Leaving the ship better than you found it also means contributing positively to the collective memory of the voyage. Cruise ships have regulars, not just crew, but passengers who sail often. Your reputation as a considerate, enjoyable person to have on board can precede you. And believe it or not, when you book your next cruise, certain crew members may remember you, for all the right reasons. It's the perfect full circle moment. Everything from making embarkation day count to reading silent signals feeds into this idea. The unwritten rules aren't just about getting the best seats or finding quiet spaces. They're about making the cruise experience better for you and everyone around you. Those are just 13 of the unwritten cruise rules that can completely change the way you travel at sea. Start applying them and you'll notice the difference. Smoother days, better experiences, and moments you didn't even know were possible on a cruise. What about you? What's one tip or habit you've picked up on a cruise that made your trip so much better? Share it in the comments. Your idea might be the thing another passenger wishes they knew. And if you want to go deeper, there's another video on screen right now with even more insider strategies, plus a free cruise guide waiting for you in the description. Your voyage is just beginning.